5, 4, 3, 2. Hey everybody, Josh Searson of World Alternative Media here, and we have some breaking news I'm going to go into shortly today, and that is that Canada has banned assault-style weapons, quote-unquote, after mass shooting. Now, this is huge breaking news that's coming out just now as we report it. And before I get into it any further, make sure to hit the like button on this video and send in your comments below. This is insane. We've seen this coming for a long time. Obviously, Canada has been not a great country for gun rights for quite some time. We reported on it years ago. We walked down the street. We questioned people on the street how they would feel about assault weapon, quote-unquote, again, assault weapon, quote-unquote, bans in Canada, and basically everyone supported it. They'll call the government Hitler, but they'll give Hitler the guns. I'm going to go into this story that's breaking just now. Of course, we all heard about the tragic, mass shooting that we watched happen just recently, about a week ago, in Nova Scotia. And the government said they would take action and win better than in a lockdown when no one's allowed to protest. As the breaking news says, Canada bans assault-style weapons after mass shooting. As this says, Trudeau announces ban on 1,500 types of assault-style firearms effective immediately. Public Safety Minister has drafted a list of firearms to be banned, including weapons used in mass shootings, it says. And as the article goes into, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau today announced a ban on some 1,500 makes and models of military-grade assault-style weapons in Canada, effective immediately. They're not military-style. I mean, this is, these guys have no idea what they're talking about. This is CBC, state-run media. Military-grade? They're not military-grade, you morons. Going on here, it says, starting today, licensed gun owners will no longer be allowed to sell, transport, import, or use these sorts of weapons in this country. And I quote, as of today, the market for assault weapons in Canada is closed. Public Safety Minister Bill Blair said, enough is enough. Banning these firearms will save Canadians' lives. And we're going to soon go into why that is not the case. That is a myth. But continuing on here, it says, Trudeau said there will be a 2-year amnesty period to allow people who already own these firearms to comply with a ban. Trudeau promised to pass legislation in the coming months to provide fair compensation to people who own these firearms. So just hand in your guns, slaves. And if you don't, they say amnesty. That's going to be interesting watching them go door to door in Alberta. As it continues here, it says the Liberal Party promised some sort of buybacks program in the last election, something that could cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. And as it continues here, a full list of firearms that have been banned is available through the Canada Gazette. Obviously, this includes AR-15s. As it says, the ban will be enacted through regulations approved by an order in council from cabinet, not through legislation. Trudeau said government was ready to enact the campaign promise months ago before the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted the legislative agenda. Oh, I'm sure. And also, they've been talking about this for years, but when you're under martial law, it's not that hard to steal people's only form of defense right now. Sickening as the economy is collapsing and people are buying guns to protect themselves. As it says, the term assault style has no legal definition in Canada. Well, of course not. The Firearms Act also does not currently classify firearms as military style. That term would have to be defined in the new regulations. Generally speaking, an assault style weapon is a semi-automatic firearm with large ammunition magazine built to fire quickly. And it's just, this is insane. It says here, all Canadians must be in compliance with the law by April 2022, Justice Minister David Larnetti said, adding that gun owners who have not disposed of their banned firearms by that point could face sanctions under the criminal code. While there's amnesty period, the firearms cannot be used anywhere as of today. Lametti said firearm owners may return the firearms to the manufacturer or export them as part of a sale between now and 2022. A bunch of criminals. And I quote, these weapons were designed for one purpose and one purpose only, to kill the largest amount of people in the shortest amount of time, Trudeau said. That is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Yeah, they're designed to kill as many people. No, they're designed as a great form of defense, and you guys have army tanks. and murder innocent people. That's what you're best at, your government. While, as it says here, while he acknowledged that most firearm owners are law-abiding citizens, he said hunters don't need this sort of firepower. How do you define that? Most firearm owners are law-abiding citizens. Of course they are. 99.999% of people are, and criminals don't follow laws. But we'll get into that more in a second. He says you don't need an AR-15 to bring down a deer. It's for criminals in government. I'm not going to go into that any further. But as it says, this ban does not cover handguns, the weapon of choice for gang members. Blair promised Friday to enact legislation down the line to give municipalities power to ban these firearms. The firearm ban comes less than 2 weeks after the Nova Scotia gun massacre, an incident Trudeau called the deadliest rampage in our country's histories. In our country's history, of course, never let a crisis go to waste, right? And I quote, "These tragedies reverberate still. They shape our identity. They stain our conscience. They make adults out of children. And the heartbreaking truth is they're happening more often than they once did," Trudeau said of such mass shootings. "Their families deserve more than thoughts and prayers. Canadians deserve more than thoughts and prayers." We're going to go into this more in a moment. Make sure to hit that like button if you haven't already. It's breaking news. Trudeau just banned 1,500 types and makes of so-called assault weapons, military grade, he says, which doesn't have a true definition either and is absurd. Send in those super chats for questions. I don't know how long this stream is going to last because I keep shutting down my live streams, but I'm going to try my best here. I do have an interview with Tim Moen coming up, the leader of the Libertarian Party of Canada, in about a half an hour or so. So I got to get to that soon. But going back into it here, as it says in this article, if I could bring it up on the screen, the conversation, it says, Nova Scotia mass shootings shows how deadly unlicensed gun owners can be. It's a keyword there, unlicensed. They didn't have it licensed. So they already illegally stockpiled these firearms. As it says, the guy who killed 22 people in the province had illegally stockpiled firearms. So what is banning guns from people who could have defended these people going to do? This is absolutely insane. There's a silver lining in the fact that more people are building guns in their garage than ever before, and there's 3D printing and everything. But let me just go into the facts here. The myth is more armed citizens means more deaths. The fact is crime has plummeted in every state which has implemented concealed carry, and this is from the U.S., and this goes worldwide based on crime stats too. But it says between 2008 and 2009, the FBI's preliminary numbers indicate that murders fell nationally by 10% and by about 8% in cities that have between 500,000 and 999,999 people. Washington's population is about 590,000. During that same period of time, murders in the district fell by an astounding 25%, dropping from 186 to 140. The city only started allowing its citizens to own handguns for defense again in late 2008. Examining all the multiple victim public shootings in the United States from 1977 to 1999 shows that on average, states that adopt right-to-carry laws experience a 60% drop in the rates at which the attacks occur, and a 78% drop in the rates at which people are killed or injured from such attacks. The NSC estimates that in 1995, firearm accidents accounted for 1.5% of fatal accidents. Larger percentages of fatal accidents were accounted for by motor vehicle accidents, 47%, falls, 13.5%, poisonings, 11.4%, drownings, 4.4%, and choking on ingested object, 3%. Violent crime rates are highest overall in states with laws severely limiting or prohibiting the carrying of concealed firearms for self-defense, FBI Uniform Crime Reports 1992, which carries on to today. The total violent crime rate is 26% higher in the restrictive states than in the less restrictive states. The homicide rate is 49% higher in the restrictive states than in the states with less restrictive CCW laws. The robbery rate is 58% higher in the restrictive states than in the less restrictive states. The aggravated assault rate is 15% higher in the restrictive states than in the less restrictive states. Using FBI data from 1992, homicide trends in the 17 states with less restrictive CCW laws compare favorably against national trends, and almost all CCW permittees are law-abiding. Since adopting CCW, Florida's homicide rate has fallen 21%, while the U.S. rate has risen 12%. From startup to the end over 6 years, Florida issued 204,108 permits, or 204,108 permits. Only 17 were revoked because permittees later committed crimes, not necessarily violent, in which guns were present, not necessarily used. 14,000 CCW licensees in Oregon. Only 4 were convicted of the criminal, not necessarily violent use of possession of firearms. Let me also note that countless people that end up in the gun death statistics are people that are killed in self-defense. Many of them are from police, so government killing people, in many cases with red flag laws lately, by stealing people's guns and end up killing innocent people trying to get those guns. This is ridiculous. If you're just tuning in, make sure to hit the like button. There's breaking news today. Trudeau has banned 1,500 types of so-called assault rifles. I'm going to bring this back up on the screen for you guys to see. Now, whatever assault rifles might be classified as, that's up to you. But the point is, this notion that banning guns from good people is going to stop bad people from doing things is like saying banning murder stop murder, or banning rape stops rape, or banning theft stops theft, especially in these times when everyone's forced into their homes. This is a crazy time to be alive because, to begin with, you can't even protest this legally. It's illegal to protest this. What better time is there than now for them to enforce these crazy laws and shove them down our throats? This is absolute tyranny. And this is why staying in your home leads to slavery. It was all part of the plan, I think. Honestly, it seems to be pointing in that direction. That we just willingly locked ourselves in our homes in many cases. Not myself, but many of you just locked yourselves in your homes, and then the government comes in and takes your guns. And this is happening in the U.S. too, in Virginia, surprisingly. Though today in Michigan and yesterday in Michigan, armed militants marched on the legislature with guns, demanding the governor lift the crazy shutdowns. The economic decline will kill far more people than the virus ever will. And by the way, this video is going to be heavily shadow banned. It's not going to be allowed to be seen. Like our interview with Jeffrey Tucker yesterday, it was frozen at 700 views for 4 hours. They're hiding all of our content, so make sure to check those links below. Join our new newsletter at www.iambanned.com. Anything helps, guys. They keep shutting down our live streams. This is expected in Canada. Obviously, Canada has been a redcoat lefty you-know-what hole for its entire existence. I'm sorry, but it has. They were part of the British world order. They eased from the fur trade into a slowly trickle-down socialist economy over decades, over the century, and people are just willingly bowing down to this guy who says he believes in China's basic dictatorship, who wears blackface, by the way, and it's okay when he does it, but not when other people do it. Obviously, that makes sense. It's politicians do as I say, not as I do. And government kills more people than any other entity in the world, and you expect government to take care of you by stealing away people's guns from good people who are actually willing to, like slaves, hand them in. And this is a far cry from under Harper. He got rid of the so-called registry, though I'm pretty sure they were still registering things, but the point is, if you're just tuning in, Justin Trudeau has just banned 1,500 types of so-called assault-style firearms, effective immediately. And he's expecting people by 2022 to have all handed in their guns or else. And they call them military grade, which is absurd. And the key word here also, Nova Scotia mass shooting shows how deadly unlicensed gun owners can be. But then how is banning guns going to do anything about... I mean, if it's unlicensed, clearly you got it illegally. So what's your point? And what about handguns are used way more than AR-15s? AR-15s just look scary to people, so they're easier to take away. People are more willing to bow down to it. We got some people commenting. I do have to go soon to interview Tim Moen of the Libertarian Party of Canada, but we have some comments. The one American Pride one says, and you have high taxes, laughing face. Yeah. And it's never been easier to 3D print guns. It's never been easier to build them in your garage. People will rise up. People have been buying guns in mass lately. In Alberta, I don't see how they're going to crack down on that. That's like cracking down in Texas or Alabama. Then yet at the same time in the U.S., they've had these red flag laws where they have been successfully just stealing guns from people's homes. They've been murdering people in their homes because maybe they say a conspiracy theory online. They're then a suspected terrorist. Then the government can come in and then extort them for their gun or shoot them on sight. This is a very dangerous precedent into complete totalitarianism. And overall, the crime stats worldwide show that crime has gone down since the 90s. Dramatically. Violent crime. It's not about gun crime. It's about violent rape, all that kind of stuff. Crimes involving a victim have fallen dramatically since the 90s. And they've fallen at less of a pace in places like Australia, where they banned guns. They've fallen at less of a pace, a much less of a pace in places like Britain, where it's more dangerous for a woman to walk around at nighttime in London, England, than it is to walk around at nighttime for her in South Africa. What does that tell you? The Chinese are far ahead. People don't have guns in most of China. And they say the crime isn't as bad there. Well, but everyone's subservient, bows down, and they get put in a torture chair if they criticize the police online. That is the incremental frog boil. Old Geezer sent $2.99 in the super chat, says, keep that crap in Canada. I agree, but unfortunately, this isn't going to be just a national issue. This is going to be a global issue. This is going to be coming down to individuals, you as free human beings standing up for yourself or giving in. Freedom is only protected by you as an individual. No one's going to protect your freedom but you. So if you let them take away your guns, then you let them take away your freedoms, then you don't even have freedoms to begin with. It's not an intrinsic thing. It's something that you have to protect. It only exists as long as you protect it. And if it's taken away from you, then you no longer have it. And by definition, you become a slave, a pawn to sacrifice for the king and the queen. And it's really sad to see so many people go, well, let's protest the government and tell them to give us our gun rights back. Protest. Ask. These are your freedoms. These are your rights. This is what protects freedom of speech, your ability to defend yourself. This is what helps you most in these situations. Self-sustainability, food, water, shelter, self-defense. You're not gathering things for the toughest guy on the block, as I've always said, and then insurance of your wealth. But they take every single bit of this away from you. And in many cases, like we see here on YouTube, it goes against their community guidelines to talk about half this stuff, and they will just take down our channel, take down our videos, hide our videos. We have 156 people watching out of 140,000 people. What does that tell you? Our video yesterday with Jeffrey Tucker was completely hidden. 700 views for 4 hours after posting. Just frozen. And it never caught up. He shared it multiple times, and it got a few more views. All the views came from link clicks from external sources. YouTube didn't show anybody the video. This is what we're dealing with. Censorship, attacks on freedom of speech. You can't walk outside. They're trying to force vaccines. They're pushing a centrally planned cashless society via technocracy. Then they're taking away the guns. Then they're forcing you into your home like a kennel. Then they're saying they're going to pay your rent, which sounds all good and fine until you realize that means they own your property. And what are you going to do about it? And this is what I'm just so sick of. People don't do anything about it. They just close their eyes, mouth, and ears. And by the way, yes, I am Canadian. I'm from Winnipeg. And Ant says forced vaccines. Yeah, they're pushing that. Trudeau doesn't want to open the country. Same with Tam. Doesn't want to open the country until they have vaccines. And they are going by Bill Gates' protocol, which he says they must be forced on everybody. Everyone must take it and get their ID 2020. Look into ID 2020. You'll see everything you need to know. It's a technocratic blueprint or fingerprint connected to you. M. Ann says, but you sure don't act like a Canadian. Yeah, because Canadians, unfortunately, not all of you guys watching, but many of the Canadians, most Canadians really have become complacent, and they've always been complacent. They've been complacent since it was a British crown, since it was a red coats, and they've just changed the flag on the coat. Yeah, Burnt Offering says Trudeau will ban murderous intentions next. Yeah, how about we ban angry, hateful thoughts? Become a thought criminal. This is tyranny, folks. Pure, unrivaled tyranny. They're going in the direction of Canada. fast if you just joined us. Trudeau has announced a ban on 1,500 types of assault-style firearms effective immediately, and they call them military grade. The hell is military grade? They're talking about AR-15s. Very few militaries around the world use AR-15s, by the way. It's just not a commonly used firearm. And I, for one, love shooting AR-15s. They are great guns, and they're great for defense. And the notion that people will have to hand in their guns, they're saying that, and I'll bring it up again for those just joining us because I want to make sure that people see exactly the issue here. And if the stream randomly goes down, that's because I'm dealing with a live streamer that just doesn't work very well, and YouTube shuts down our streams. But let's pull this up on the screen. The criminal sanctions are that all Canadians must be in compliance with the law by April 2022. Justice Minister David Lametti said, adding that gun owners who have not disposed of their banned firearms by that point could face sanctions under the criminal code. While there is an amnesty period, the firearms cannot be used anywhere as of today. Lametti said firearm owners may return the firearms to the manufacturer or export them as part of a sale between now and 2022. And I quote, "These weapons were designed for one purpose and one purpose only, to kill the largest amount of people in the shortest amount of time," Trudeau said, which is false, stupid. While he acknowledged that most firearm owners are law-abiding citizens, he said hunters don't need this sort of firepower. And I quote, "You don't need an AR-15 to bring down a deer." I hate these talking points. They're so stupid. And they completely miss the point of defending your ability to speak, defending your ability to stay safe, defending your ability to keep all the other rights that you have to defend yourself because no one will defend it for you. We have to depend on the police who will show up 4 hours late and shoot your dog. This is just, it's sickening. By the way, if you haven't already, hit that like button, share on social media because I'm heavily shadow banned. Join our new newsletter at www.iambanned.com. It's all in the description. Our COINTREE account, all those things, all ways that you can help support World Alternative Media because these videos keep getting taken down and shadow banned and hidden. If you're just joining us, Trudeau has banned, well, effective immediately, and I'll bring it up on the screen again for you guys. He has announced a ban on 1,500 types of so-called assault-style firearms effective immediately. This is criminal. This is absolutely criminal. And people don't do anything about it. And by the way, it's illegal to protest right now. It's illegal to protest. How convenient. This is why they tell you to stay in your home, folks. It's same as Virginia. They're pushing gun laws, and no one's allowed to protest. They're pushing a House resolution right now in the U.S. as well called H.R. 5717, the Gun Violence Prevention and Community Safety Act of 2020, and no one's allowed to protest. This is a crackdown on free will, free speech, and most importantly, the defense of free individuals that determines your ability to have those other freedoms. And what are you going to do about it, folks? I think the free market has an answer to this. People will build guns in their garage. Never been easier. Not endorsing it. I'm just saying that's what people will do. There will be 3D printing. We've all seen the work that Cody Wilson has done. And 3D printing is only at the beginning. It's going to get a lot better in the future. It's only a matter of time, folks, before these things are unapplicable. You cannot enforce this stuff. But they certainly want to because they are really going for the kill right now. They're really moving for the throat. And they're really trying to just desecrate any remaining individual freedoms anyone might have. And that's why it comes down to you as free individuals to stand up. However you might do that. How will you do that? That's a good question. We got some comments coming in. I don't have much time left, and the stream might go down at any moment because YouTube keeps taking down our streams. So check out those the links in the description to help keep us alive, and hit that like button and share on social media because most of the clicks we get on these videos are shared on social media, not from YouTube itself. Let's see. Paul says, what does a Canadian act like? Good question. Simona Sada says, what are laws in Mexico? Well, as many of you know, I'm Canadian, but I'm in Mexico right now. And the laws in Mexico are very strict on guns, but people still have guns. But there's still a very high murder rate. But people don't listen to the government as much here. Let's see. Gangster Talk says, Trump is a racialist. Let's stay on topic, guys. We're just gonna talk about some of these issues that are coming up today as Trudeau announces this ban on 1,500 types of assault-style firearms, whatever that means. Patrick Dennis says, we are talking about assault arm. Simona Sada says, criminals have guns. This is correct. They're more easily able to get guns because prohibition doesn't work. And people on the left seem to realize that with alcohol and cannabis, but somehow not with guns. And they say, well, weed doesn't kill people. Neither did guns. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You can use a gun to slaughter a whole bunch of innocent people, but you can also use that same gun to save all those innocent people from being slaughtered. And more likely than not, it's going to be the latter, not the previous. I mean, it goes without saying, there are good people everywhere. There's some stupid people out there, but the majority of people are going to jump to defense. But what we're looking at is a world of dependency right now. People are bowing down to the state to be dependent to the state for the state to protect them when the state kills more people than any other entity in the entire world. Paul says we're acting like puppets. Yep. Andre Nicotina says, wham, it's a directive, not a ban. He doesn't have the authority to pass it. He has to go through Parliament. Yeah, but they're under martial law right now. An emergency order essentially allows passages that one would expect from martial law. And I guarantee you it'll go through the leftist house, and the people on the right are highly leftist too, and they've been waiting for an opportunity. And when they don't have anyone protesting, because they can't have anyone protesting because it's illegal, it's in place, and there's nothing that any government officials are really going to be able to do to stop it. It'll come down to individuals like you guys standing up against it. But again, not protesting and asking for your rights. Those rights are taken. You take them back. It comes down to you as a free individual, not the government, to decide these things. Your fate is in your hands. Government cannot give you freedom. Only you can maintain your freedom as a free individual, and most notably with defense tactics. But alas, people are giving up their guns en masse because they see something scary on the news, something sad. Someone who used illegal guns to do an illegal thing, kill a bunch of people. It's amazing how laws don't work. Laws only work on people that are in fear. And fear is a catalyst. It's not that we as individuals that these things are enforced. It's a fear of enforcement that keeps us on our knees. Anyway. I have to go and do an interview with Tim Moen of the Libertarian Party of Canada, so stay tuned for that. I appreciate the super chats. Hitting the like button helps. I'm going to stick around to see if we can get one more super chat in here, because it's the only thing that keeps World Alternative Media alive, and we really do appreciate anything we can get that keeps us able to do these videos, because YouTube takes down our videos. YouTube, restricts us from reaching people. First of all, there were only 2 clicks from notifications on our live show yesterday with Jeffrey Tucker from the American Institute for Economic Research. Only 2. And that is in no way natural. So we need you guys to help keep us alive, because almost every single view on our show yesterday was from people sharing the show on social media. So it's important that we get any support that we can get. Anyway, join our new newsletter at www.iambanned.com. It helps a lot. It helps us keep track of everyone so that we can actually reach people. You can get your Wham merchandise at our Teespring store, linked below, as well as you can get tickets to AnarchoVegas 2020 with promo code Wham and save 10%. You can find us on float.app. That's flote.app. And I'm at Josh Sigurdson, as well as at Wham, the future of social media replacing YouTube. Roy Lowry sent $10 in the super chat, says, just helping my brother out. Love your work, bro. Thank you so much, Roy. We really, really, truly appreciate those super chats. They keep us up and running, and I can't thank you enough. Seriously, it means a lot. It really does. Literally, it's a heartbeat of Wham right now. We don't get monetization anymore, and they take down our videos, so it's impossible to actually bring the truth to people, which is now more important than ever. So those super chats go a long way. John Harris sent $2.99 in the super chat. Says fist pump. Thank you so much. We really truly appreciate that. Thank you. It really does mean a lot, guys. You can subscribe to our Whamcast channel, also linked below. That's WAM space cast, where we will be doing podcasts soon. We have, obviously, GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar. Just $1 or more a month will help keep us alive. Bitcoin addresses, Litecoin, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, Monero in our COINTREE address, linked below as well. STEEMIT, BitChute, we're on all of them. Minds, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, we're there. And we really appreciate people joining us on all the alternatives, because it's becoming almost impossible to reach people these days. So hit the like button if you haven't already. If you're just joining us, again, the breaking news today is that Trudeau has announced a ban on 1,500 types of assault-style firearms effective immediately. Public Safety Minister has drafted a list of firearms to be banned, including weapons used in mass shootings, and they're basically highlighting AR-15s there. And it's never been more important to stand up. It's never been more important to call this out. I'm optimistic long-term. But short term, my God, guys, we're just giving everything away. Staying in our homes, in our little kennels, like good little slaves. Stay home, stay safe. No, this is the least safe thing you can imagine. East Coast King says, Canada, you better rise up as a nation. Once it's gone, it won't be back. And it's never really been there. British World Order to red coat Canadians that just put a different flag on their red coat. It's just a centralized government authority while they centralize the money and they centralize business. It's fascio-communism on steroids. And it's really reaching the point of China, which, again, Trudeau said that he respected their basic dictatorship. It's a power shift to China, folks. Power shift to China. Be free. Live by example. Don't take these attacks on you as free individuals, on your family. Don't take them. Anyway, Andre Nikatla, sorry, I can't pronounce her name, says, rights are taken, not given. Absolutely. Bill says, yes, because he's a commie. Yeah. I'm not calling for violence, by the way. There's free market approaches. Evolution, not revolution, tends to be the best way to go about it, because revolution always leads to more government, unfortunately. Anyway, I got to go before they just randomly shut down my stream. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. Hit that like button if you haven't already. And thanks for the super chats. They mean a lot, guys. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Stay tuned for much more. Find the truth. Be the change.